Hello, everyone, and welcome to our AMN Live podcast event. We're so excited to have you here. Usually you're all seeing me on the nursing side, and I'm so excited to be with this team to talk about Allied specifically. We'll talk a lot about everything that there is to do with Allied travel, talk to some great guest speakers that we have here. I'll have them introduce themselves shortly. If you've been on any of these with us on the nursing side, I can't start any without just saying thank you to all of our healthcare professionals out there for everything that you do. I think especially in the last 2 years, hopefully you've felt that appreciation for just all of the hard work and just time and effort. But as we continue out of that crazy COVID environment into real life, we still want to show you just our appreciation and how happy we are to be a part of your journey, no matter where that is or what place you're in. So today I have some great guests. So my name is Saundra V. I'm a divisional vice president on our nursing side. But like I said, we'll be talking about the allied side of AMN Healthcare today. So with me today, I'll start with Maggie. Maggie, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, great. Thank you for having me. As Saundra said, my name is Maggie Keys. I am a clinical manager and been with AMN for 3 years now. And I'm also an SLP. Most of my experience has been in the schools, but also done a little bit with acute care and skilled nursing.
I love it. We're so excited to have you, Maggie. Thanks so much. Elle, let's go to you next.
Sure. Hi, yes, my name is Elle Dane. I am the University Program Manager at AMN Healthcare under my travelers. And I actually stepped into working with clinicians, particularly new grads 6 years ago. Currently what I do is I help facilitate our senior director when it comes to university outreach, making sure that we take care and we nurture those relationships so that way we can be in touch with our students and we can figure out ways that we can continue to support clinicians from the very beginning all the way through the more seasoned therapists.
I love it. So much good stuff that we're going to learn from you, Elle and Maggie. So excited for that. And then our third panelist here, we have Miss Kayla. Tell us a little bit about yourself, Kayla.
Hi, I'm Kayla Tawala. I have been a travel speech therapist for 3 years now. I'm currently on a teletherapy contract, which means that I'm remote. If you can't tell from the window, if it's not a giveaway, I am in a travel trailer at the moment, traveling around full time while I work from my computer.
And I love that you called it out because in all of our practice, I've talked about how awesome it is that you're in a travel trailer. I'm going to come back to you on that, Kayla. But before I do, now that you know the panelists, I would love to hear from all of our listeners or everybody who's joining in. So we actually have some fun stuff. We're going to do a giveaway. And our giveaway today is for a Blue Apron gift card. We actually have 3. So the first 3 people who ask us a question in the chat, in our comment section, will be receiving this Blue Apron gift card. I joked with the group, but Blue Apron's amazing, and I'm probably going to show up at your doorstep so you can make me some delicious meals. But please ask us those questions in the chat. We'll be looking out for them. Kayla, I have to come back to you. The travel trailer. What inspired it? I think that's like my dream. It probably won't happen at this point until much later in my life with little kids. But tell me about the travel trailer. I love it.
Yeah, so it's kind of a transition through traveling to get to the point of here. I mean, it started with right out of grad school. I wanted to do some traveling, so got my first contract out in Florida, and I was like, okay, this is cool. But it was a school contract, so I was there for a year. So followed that up with another year-long contract. I'm like, you know what? I like this traveling thing. I think I want to do it faster. So thus the travel trailer idea was born. So it's kind of been this cool way. My husband and I travel together. He also works remote. And it's been a really cool way to go and experience the United States and do the trips that we want to do, but while I'm working. So it's been the perfect way to get that done.
Such an awesome combination. And one of our team members actually said, that's so cool, Kayla. So thanks, Kyle, for that comment. It is so cool. I don't know. It doesn't wear off that it's just an awesome thing that you're able to do. We'll come back and talk a little bit more about your journey, Kayla. But just a reminder to throw those questions in the chat, everyone. Maggie, I do want to come over to you because part of what Kayla is talking about is our clinical fellowship program. And I would just love for our listeners and viewers to hear more about what that is and what that means.
Yeah. Great. I'd love to talk more about it. It is something that we are very proud of. And if you didn't already know, your clinical fellowship is a 9-month experience that essentially starts with your first job right after completing your master's. And it's an experience with a mentor, otherwise known as a supervisor, who really assists you in developing your independent clinical skills. So what's awesome about AMN and what we have to offer is that we can provide support really from the very beginning. So if you're interested, and reach out to us. We have recruiters who specialize in working with clinical fellows and can support you with building your resume, helping you with that interview process. And then we have another whole team who makes sure that you are set up with your supervisor, again, mentor, because we want to make sure that your 9-month experience is going to be everything that you want it to be, and that you're going to get that experience to the fullest with somebody who has experience in the same setting that you're working in. And another great offering that we're starting this year in July are CF webinars. So they're really going to focus on what you need starting out in your career. And so, supporting you throughout your CF experience. And, we have the clinical management team. I'm part of that. Just another layer of support, because again, we want you to feel like you are supported in the new position that you're in, starting off on your career. As you work your way through your CF, when you come to the end, we're also there to support you and to get those C's, which is so exciting because finally you're a full SLP. I'll never forget that feeling. Kayla, you could probably talk to that. Best feeling ever. And then, really our recruiters are there to help you beyond and helping you with your career growth and what you want to do after your CF.
I love so much of what you're talking about. And when you said getting your C's, Kayla was beaming. So I think everybody remembers that moment. So hopefully all of our listeners and viewers do as well. A couple things that you hit on that I think are just so critical. And Elle, I'd love to hear from your perspective, just hearing from, from potential candidates in this, getting asked a lot of questions, just that support that we offer before you actually enter the program and then after entering the job market and seeing what that's all about, really feeling supported throughout that entire program is such a critical part of what the team does. And we kind of joked about it yesterday, Maggie, but being there for all kinds of different things, the fun stuff, and then also just the hard stuff to be able to work you through. But love that. We'll definitely come back and talk a little bit more. Elle, I would love to hear from you though, on kind of some of those common questions I think Maggie hit on that you tend to receive from your side.
Yes, absolutely. I think one of the major questions that I receive is how is the experience different if you're going through a national staffing firm or agency like Travelers, AMN Healthcare? And I think the biggest thing is support. I would say about 99% of the students and early career professionals that I speak with, their number one priority is to make sure that they have the proper CF mentorship / supervision up front. But something that I always hone in on is the fact that it goes way beyond that. You have a lot of support up front, you have support during, and then you have, just like Maggie said, the support when it comes to transitioning from clinical fellowship to seasoned clinician, someone who has their C's regardless of what setting you're in. On top of that, a lot of questions that I get will entail what the big picture looks like. So I'll get questions about housing support, insurance. Ooh, I have something in my eye, sorry. Insurance benefits, retirement, 401k, and professional development options. And we do have all of those.
Yeah, and that can be so nerve-wracking. Kayla, I see you nodding your head. Just what does that look like? What is that process? And I know you've got your travel trailer, so you don't necessarily need the housing support there, but some of those other areas of support that may be a little scary, leaving a really, kind of perfect box of something that's close by and going into this kind of travel environment. Anything to add there, Kayla?
I think at the beginning, right out of grad school, it's kind of scary to be thinking about how you're going to get a job, what you want to do if you want to negotiate your pay rate, things like that. All that's taken care of by your recruiter. I thought that was so cool. Not only did they find options and things for me, but if I was not super sure about the pay, I didn't have to ask the question. They asked it for me, and then they pass it on, and it's just taken care of. And I thought that was like a majorly important piece of support because it wasn't so scary to go after the job that I wanted because I knew I had support.
Yeah, and that's huge, right? Being able to just have that team of people to help you with those hard questions, and at least even just walk you through what that looks like, because it can be different than really anything we've experienced. Maggie, I'm going to come back to you from that support perspective. Just some of the ways that the clinical manager team does support our clinical fellows, or really anybody who is working with us on the AMN side.
Yeah, I think one of the amazing aspects is that we do have a clinical team. And so really a clinician, again, whether you're a CF or a seasoned clinician who's been traveling, if you're having issues with your caseload or figuring out like scheduling, how to communicate with maybe your supervisor, we're here to really talk through that with you, guide you, and just support you because, again, we want you to have a good experience, feel successful while you're on assignment with us. And just being that support it's so much fun for me because and then I get to, flex some of my clinical skills too and talk shop. So, we do that as well, which is great.
So fun. Kayla, I'm going to come to you to talk kind of good, bad, ugly of being on an assignment. But before I do, we do have a couple of little shout outs here. It looks like we have some dream locations to travel to. So the panel can weigh in on what your thoughts are here. But dream location is Anaheim, Disneyland or bust. I love that, Lindsay H. So fun. Sarah Newman, dream location would be New York City. And then we have Julia, dream location is San Diego. So all good places to visit. Thoughts from the panel? Good? All good spots?
Yes.
Definitely places to visit too. And it's so fun. We have positions in so many of those places. So I love that. Just had to call that out. So Kayla, good, bad, ugly. One of you called the clinical team or, really called in. What's that support looked like for you?
Absolutely. I needed some help a couple times. I even made notes because I was thinking about, okay, what would I talk about if, and so, the big thing for me was getting to an assignment at a school and having like a really large caseload and not really knowing how to navigate that, especially right out of grad school. It was never really more than a call away. I could just send a message and say, hey, do you have any ideas? What should I do? And so one time during my CF, I did get some really good advice on how to manage it myself rather than, changing it necessarily, but I also got support to change it too. So that was a big one for sure. And then also just kind of, any other issues on how to navigate like with management at the school and, being a contractor, how that looks different than being, an employee of the school, what I need to attend, what I don't need to attend, things that are expected of me. Like I know at some schools, meetings and bus duty, I would ask, hey, am I supposed to do that? And we could kind of navigate that. And it wasn't just me saying like, oh, I don't know if I'm supposed to do that or not. It was just really cool to have that extra line of defense. So I didn't have to just, say what I thought was right. I got to have some help.
It's somebody to talk it out through, talk it out with, right? So just that kind of additional set of ears or eyes to look at, is this something that's typical? And you're right, you don't necessarily know. This is your first time doing it.
Yeah.
Or maybe you're a seasoned traveler, so you've done it all the time, but it can be a new environment and a new school and a new place to be. So Maggie, I know for you on the clinical side, that is kind of the nice place to be able to jump in and, we might not be able to fix the problem, but we can at least come up with ways to support you in that communication to the right people, maybe even role play some of those things. So a lot of that support that, maybe you wouldn't normally get even in that type of environment. So I love hearing all of that. Well, we are, ladies, if you can believe it, about halfway through our live podcast already. Hopefully all of you who are listening are getting a ton of great information. I do have another exciting giveaway. So we do have a travel backpack and spa package raffle. So all you have have to do for that one is to follow and comment on our latest Instagram post on AMN Allied. Again, that's at AMN Allied. All you have to do is just follow and comment on the latest Instagram post and let us know what's up. What are you doing? What are you up to? And you'll be entered into that raffle for the travel backpack and spa package raffle. So good stuff. I mean, I would definitely comment. I am always about a spa package. And Kayla, I'm sure you always need a travel backpack, right?
Oh, for sure. Definitely.
It's always one of those things we need. So I kind of want to bring us back to Kayla, more specifically with you, just in traveling and, what that experience has been like. I have said it 1,500 times. You're probably like, gosh, enough with the travel trailer, but I love the travel trailer. So how has that kind of changed the way that you've been able to maneuver? How has that been a benefit to you? And I know yesterday we talked a little bit about how that's kind of was an inspiration for pulling you out of that potential box you could be in to really learn a lot more.
Absolutely. So, one of the things that you always hear when you're young is that you should travel while you're young, go and experience. But I'm always like, with what money? How do you want me to travel? So you know what? This has been the perfect way to be able to go and travel and experience people in different locations and really get to know them, but also to get paid while I'm doing it. And I think that, that for me, at least, that is the dream. It is just the coolest opportunity. And I think too, with this new opportunity of being in the trailer, it's been really cool to take the trips that my husband and I want to take, but to be working and then getting paid during the week, and then we have all the weekend in a new place. So we did like Nashville and Niagara Falls, New York City, Boston, all the big places we'd wanted to go, DC, and I'm just working during the week. And so it's just been really cool to kind of knock a lot of those things off the bucket list, but also, like I said, I have my job and I'm getting paid on the road. It's been awesome.
Yeah, that's so awesome. And I know we talked about just all the places you've been, but what's on your bucket list? So we heard some of the bucket list items from our listeners, but what about you? What's on the bucket list?
So we've kind of covered the whole eastern half of the US. So I really want to do some more on the west. So I've done Southern California. I would love to do Northern California. I really want to go to Montana, do some Alaska. I mean, the list never ends. I have a lot on the list.
You'll be traveling for years to come, Kayla.
Oh, yeah.
So any of you who have doubts about just the adventure that you can have, I'm sure Kayla would be happy to just message you and let you know that it's a ton of fun. But I do love hearing that. Of the places that you've been, Kayla, so I didn't ask you this yesterday, so it might be tough, but of the places that you've been, what's been your favorite or maybe most surprising place that you didn't think would be quite so obviously a great place to be?
Yeah, definitely. I have two answers to that. So the one I was most surprised by, I think, was Niagara Falls, because you see it, you think it's like this big tourist location, but oh my gosh, going on that boat into the mist and standing under the falls like a shower of water, it was so cool. It was one of my top experiences, I mean, of life, not even just of this year. And that was really cool. The other one that really surprised me was Maine. So I am born and raised a Texas girl, and you always hear, okay, well, people are really nice in Texas. Oh my gosh, people are nice everywhere. We met the kindest people in Maine. It is absolutely stunning. And plus we went during the fall time, which I grew up in West Texas. That is desert, desert, desert. I'd never seen leaves that color. So that was the coolest thing, going to Maine and seeing that.
Such a different experience. And how would you even know, right? How would you know that
Right.
that would feel that way? I love it. Well, transitioning us just a little bit. So we did get some other dream locations from Annie. It looks like dream location is Hawaii. I love it. Would love to hear which island, Annie, you'd love to go to. Another New York City dream location. I did get a question. So from JC, what is it like being the new person at a hospital or, at a facility or a school every few months? And Kayla, probably for you, as best you can answer.
Sure, absolutely. So my contracts have been school contracts, but of course they're just a little bit longer. But I would say I have become way more well-rounded by having a new place to get used to, new systems that I've learned, getting used to navigating just like relationships with management and coworkers and things like that. I've become so flexible, and I don't think I would have ever had that experience outside of travel. It does take, I always say, like, the first week, you just got to give yourself grace, and you have to ask for grace in return, because as you get your feet wet and like get used to it, it's always a transition. But once you're through that, it is the best, and it's so worth that challenging phase.
I love that. Thanks for that, Kayla. Maggie, I think I'd like to hear from your side if you have anything on that too, because I know you talk to a lot of allied professionals that are maybe a little bit more frequent. So, what are some of the pieces of advice you could give?
Yeah, I think Kayla really nailed it with saying you have to be flexible and understanding that things might be, you have a base from wherever you came from before. And if you're new, again, if you're a CF, then we're supporting you, and your CF supervisor is there, of course. But typically you have an idea of what it is you need to know. So having kind of like a checklist, whether it's in your head or written down, to make sure you get what you need at the beginning, know your most important people to talk to, and to help, because as soon as you introduce yourself, you explain who you are, you're immediately starting to build those relationships, and that's huge. It's going to help you through your assignments.
I love that. And if you are struggling as you're getting on or trying to get used to the environment, that's where that clinical manager team is just so critical in helping you make those connections. I think, Elle, I don't know if you can answer this, or Kayla or Maggie, if you can, but we did get a question from Annie. Can anyone talk more about medical placements and how hard it is to get a travel CF medical placement?
I can touch on that a little bit. So this is something that a lot of students will ask, year over year since I pretty much started, which is there's definitely a frustration that a lot of folks will feel because they are gaining some experience, clinically speaking, through grad school, and then they get into the job market, and then they start to see, well, oh my gosh, there's a lot more opportunities in school districts versus being in medical. And so there's a lot of fear that comes along with that if you've never been in the job market before, I think. And so I just try to have a realistic conversation and talk about the why behind it. So is it possible? Yeah, absolutely. For us, our job market, or the opportunities that we present for clinical fellowships, it is in direct reflection to the reality of the job market. So yeah, it's totally possible, but don't feel discouraged by any means if it's a lot tougher to land those interviews in the medical world. It's not forever. And there's a lot of reasons as well why a medical facility or setting might be a little bit shy when it comes to hiring a new grad or someone who doesn't have their C's quite yet. So my best advice when it comes to that is just first understanding the why behind it. Don't feel discouraged. And then second, really working, especially if you do have a recruiter, working with them and creating a game plan. So that way the positions that you do get submitted out for, regardless of the setting, is aligned with your overall long-term goals with your career. Once you do have your C's, a lot more opportunities do tend to open up in the medical world as well. So don't feel as if you're going to get pigeonholed when it comes to the setting that you choose for your clinical fellowship. You're definitely going to have time to get into those different opportunities.
I love that, Elle. And so much that you talked on there is just utilizing that recruiter too. They'll be the expert and help you with that plan. You heard Kayla mention it a little bit too. Kayla, I saw you nodding a ton, so I don't know if you have anything to add to what Elle said. But
Oh yeah, I'm just enthusiastic. That's just who I am. But yeah, absolutely. And I think too that I, had friends who felt the same way that Elle just mentioned, of just like, we're in grad school, we have all this medical experience, we don't want to lose it. And I think for me, I've just kept up on my continuing ed and kept up on those medical skills so that I don't lose them, even though I wanted to be in school. So, but I didn't want to lose those skills either. And I think that, just doing that and continuing to stay fresh is the best way to go about it, even if you end up in a setting that maybe wasn't your original plan.
yeah, I love that. Another question, Kayla, here for you. How can clinical managers support you best? And more specifically after this CF year?
Yeah. So, well, during the CF, I got really lucky. Maggie and I talked about this, how I just had a really good CF. So I didn't really need a whole ton of support, but it was awesome to know that it was there if I did. I never felt like I was alone. I never felt like if something came up, that I would have to like navigate it myself. I knew I always had help. And I thought that was really, really cool. And even just since then, I just, I always know that the help is there if I need it. And I love the I guess relief that gives, to where if I ever do get in a situation where I'm like, oh, I don't really know how to navigate this, again, I'm not by myself and I have someone to reach out to.
Yeah, so much that you're hearing probably just about support from each of these ladies, just support in all aspects, and how we've just continued to hopefully offer you that in a lot of different ways. So not only with our clinical manager team, but also as Elle mentioned, like the housing support, helping you get to that next place. We also offer employee assistance programs and benefits and all kinds of stuff that you would have from that more permanent type of position transitioning into this. So lots of that worry hopefully is taken care of for you if you do have questions on it. Any info on the benefits attached to the program. So hopefully some of those things, but Maggie, would you add anything specific to the program as far as benefits go?
I think as far as like the CF program, yeah, one of the biggest benefits is that we take that weight off of the clinician in finding their CF supervisor / mentor. I think that's one of the biggest benefits. We do offer full access to a CEU platform. We also obviously all the, you can come to us at the clinical team for anything you might need at any point. And then webinars, we'll be starting webinars for our CFs this year. So a lot of exciting things, and yeah, definitely a lot of benefits.
Lots of good benefits. And I'm sure our wonderful marketing team can put some more information in the chat there for you, Stanton, so you can check it out. Elle, I would love to come back to you just kind of as we're wrapping up to talk a little bit about just how you've seen this type of a program, or this program specifically, change over the last 6 years. I know there's been a lot of a transition, a lot of change. So tell us a little bit more about that.
Absolutely. Oh, I love this question so much because it just brings me back to when I first stepped into working with, I actually started at Advanced Medical before the integration with AMN. And that's where the CF program was launched and developed. And over the last 6 years, I have been able to see it grow and change, and I've seen many more opportunities presented for grad students who are going into their clinical fellowship. When I first started, it was talked about a little bit. A lot more programs that we would talk to were, again, more shy when it comes to, just thinking about sending their early career professionals, their grad students that they've worked so hard with, right, into travel. It was definitely a lot more popular when it came to the other therapy disciplines that we work with, like OTs and PTs. But because being a speech therapist in their first year, needing to complete their clinical fellowship is a lot different in terms of the requirements that they had to fulfill, it's just really important that whatever employer that a clinician goes with is able to work in tandem with ASHA to make sure that those requirements are being met and that they have a well-rounded experience. We come back to support. And so over the years, what I have seen is, at least from what I've seen from our company, is that we have worked closely with ASHA, and we have really just tried to tailor it to the experience of the clinician, while at the same time making sure that whatever facility or school district that they're going into is also getting a phenomenal candidate. So now, compared to when I first stepped in, completely different. It's a lot more of a popular thought and vision. It's a realistic dream to have for someone who's graduating, that they can have an experience like Kayla's having right now.
I love that. And such an awesome thing to look at that progression, of course, for you to have been a part of it, Elle, but for all of our listeners to now be a part of this really exciting time that we're in now. And Kayla, I mean, even for you, that's changed over the past few years. So very great. We are almost wrapping it up here. So would love any additional questions that you have for the chat. But just in the last minute or so that we have, would love to hear from our panelists on what your dream location would be, and maybe what you're looking forward to the most as we, I can't believe we're halfway through 2022, but what are you looking forward to the most as we go into the second half of the year? Maggie, I'll start with you.
The pressure.
Not to put you on the spot. You're like, we didn't practice this.
I think my dream location would probably be Hawaii. That's one of the states I haven't hit. And I also was lucky enough to be a traveler and got to work on the East Coast and West Coast and hit a couple of places in between, but never been to Hawaii. So I think Hawaii would be my dream location. Yeah, and excited just for a great next half of the year.
Yeah. There's so much. I feel like the year just goes by so quickly. The second that we realize we're into it, we're already halfway through, but I love that. Cool. Thanks, Maggie. Let's see. Elle, what about you? Dream location, and what are you excited for the rest of this year?
Okay. So I would say the Pacific Northwest. I don't know why. I've never been there. I lived in Alaska for 5 years, but I've never been to like Seattle or Portland, even parts of Northern California. So I would say that's my number one right now. And then what I'm looking forward to is going to the San Diego area for my husband's job. So that'll be the first time that I'll be going there as well. And that's been on my bucket list too.
I love it. Maybe some of our travelers with that dream location will see you there. Kayla, what about you?
Well, I know Maggie mentioned Hawaii. So my sister actually lives in Hawaii. And the beautiful thing about having school contracts is I get summers off if I want them off. And so I'm going to go spend a month in Hawaii with my sister and hang out. She's got a guest room. So I'm going to take it.
I love that. And such a great benefit that we didn't talk about. But one of the great things our clinicians and travelers have is that ability to take that time off. I know we can take up to, I believe it's 21 days. So 3 weeks off without losing your insurance with us too. So it's kind of a great way to live, really. 13 weeks of work, and then you go and take your vacation to Europe or to Hawaii to just relax on the beach and enjoy. So lots of good stuff. But I want to thank all of our panelists for being on. We so appreciate you. It looks like in the chat we've gotten a ton of just appreciation too for all of your perspectives and insights. So thank you all so much for joining us. We look forward to continuing these on for our allied professionals just to get all that great information. But thank you all. I appreciate it. And thank you for joining. We'll see you next time, guys.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye.